I wanted to start with this slide from Steve Jobs because there's not much words on my slides. There's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of niche references. I'm a lot older than you, so I make myself laugh with my references. So just find entertainment in me finding myself funny, and I'm sorry that you might not know what I'm on about with some of my references. So I've been asked to come and talk to you about my career. I'm marketing manager for City of Culture Trust and have been a marketeer for over 10 years now. And just kind of what I've done to get to where I've got to, and some of the things that I've come across, and some of the examples of work that I've done, and then what we've done as City of Culture, and then there's time at the end for you to ask questions if you want to. So start with a little bit about me. That's me when I was 3, because I don't like any pictures of me now. And these are just an example of some of the brands that I've worked on during my career. I've been both client side and agency side, so I've done quite a lot in my 10 years, which is good because it means you learn more stuff. And I'll come on to some of these as I'm going through. So the reason that I've got a picture of Forrest Gump, people know Forrest Gump, right? Just finding my level, is because it's with your career, like when you're growing up, you think, right, I mean, my little girl wants to be a slug at the moment. She's 4, so she's not very aspirational. I'm hoping that that'll change. But when you're little, you kind of think, I'm going to do this, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it doesn't quite work that way, but that's fine because you find your own way, and eventually you find something that you love and you stick with it. So I graduated university in 2006, and I did international business and marketing as my degree, and I wanted to get into marketing, and that's all that I wanted to do, and that's all that I'd ever wanted to do. Since my mum told me I couldn't be an actress because that's no money in that. And I couldn't get a job straight out of university, just because I was in Nottingham. I don't know whether it was a Nottingham thing. I think the graduate landscape's quite difficult anyway. But I couldn't get a marketing job straight away. I tried, and there was always someone with more experience than me just getting in my way. So I started working for a company in Nottingham that had a really good, it was a really good employee in the city. And I thought, I'll get my way in, get a foot in the door, and then eventually I'll get to where I've got to. And it took me about 5 years to get a marketing job, so that's why it's a long road. But you'll get there in the end, is the point of Forrest Gump and all his hairy weirdness here. But I'll kind of talk through where the stages that I went to get to where I got to. I love a bit of a cheesy analogy, so I've got a big long road here as well. So the employee that I started after university was Eon, and I just was on the phones because I just needed a job, and thought it's all right because I'll get a job in Eon, and then once they meet me, they'll think I'm great, and then I can get into marketing straight away. And it didn't quite work like that, but after a few years of moving around into different areas, and just kind of making yourself known, I started to kind of get the feelers out of where there was going to be jobs available and how I was going to be a marketeer in Eon. What I had to do eventually, and I'm not suggesting this is the way that you do it, but it worked. I'd done a placement year at university, and I went and worked at somewhere called Imperial Tobacco, which is an interesting choice of employer, but really interesting. I learnt loads. And I went back to them on 4 weeks unpaid placement and just said, I can't get a job because everyone's got more experience than me, and I don't really know what to do. So I went back to them for 4 weeks unpaid, took time out of Eon, and worked in their department. And because I'd had a really good placement year, they let me back, and learnt loads of new stuff. And then I could put that on my CV and go, look at all this stuff that I know, and it's really up to date. And then I got a job not long after that in the marketing department of Eon. After that, I went to an agency called Cogent Elliott, then another agency called Creative Bridge because they were doing some different things, then SSP, who sell financial services, insurance and broker software, which is as boring as it sounds, but that's the fun of a marketeer, that you get to turn something that's really boring into something quite fun. And then now to where I am, which is City of Culture Trust. I'm going to go through some examples of the different things I did at different stages, just because one of the things I'll talk about when I get to top tips is that take everything that you learn with you along as you go, because at some point it'll be useful. Maybe not trigonometry from when you did that at GCSE, but pretty much everything else that you learn at some point will come in use. So 2012, E.ON did a campaign called Energy Fit, and it was about helping you get energy fit. We're on it, and it's because people were saying that, why are you as an energy company telling me how to save energy, because surely you're the ones that will benefit if we use more energy. And it was obviously about being nice to the planet and all that kind of stuff. I worked in business services, which was an internal part of E.ON, and we kind of said, why are we telling our customers to be energy efficient and telling them all this stuff, and we're not doing it in our buildings? We're letting people fly off to Germany for a 1-hour meeting and then come back. It didn't make any sense. So we went to the board of E.ON, the marketing team was 2 people, me and my marketing director, with an idea and the little mice that we'd use on an advert, that we wanted to instigate energy fit in the workplace, because it made sense. Like, you can't tell someone to do something and then do something else. So we brought in loads of initiatives to, and they loved the idea and they thought we were great. And so we brought in loads of initiatives. So these were on the meeting room walls when you went and had a meeting room about leading by example. Some of this is really cheesy, but at the time we were like, wow, we're saving the world. This was a virtual meeting room that we had in one of the buildings. It's at Westwood Business Park, if you know where that is. And these screens here are these like amazing things where these big faces in Germany would appear, or like they were one of the offices in Australia. And it was saving like nearly £1,000 a year in flights, because people didn't have to go to Germany anymore. They could just go on one of these telepresence meetings. And then we used the mice off the advert internally as well, because they were our brand asset, to then say we're all on a mission to get energy fit. And there was something where you could sign up on the portal and talk about all the ways that you'd done to save energy, and then you got money back into your wages, and who doesn't love free money? And then we put things round the building. So where there was lights that didn't come on till you walked down a corridor, we just put that up to say this is why we're doing it, and to just kind of keep reinforcing that message that you work for a company that is actually thinking about what they're doing and not just saying do this and then doing something else. Some posters that were on the walls. So this was about car sharing. This was about because this telepresence here always used to get booked up because of the people that went to Germany. So then we put some really cost-effective options in some of the meeting rooms. That was just a smaller version, and put them in the meeting rooms across the site, so that it was about more greener meetings. And we had a cycle to work scheme in place where you got some money back if you got a free bike, and if you cycle to work, obviously it saves the planet, and loads of carbon, and the world's a happier place, and all that kind of stuff. And that was about, they were wasting nearly £900 a year. So if you rent a car because you're going to a meeting somewhere, and you don't fill up your petrol tank, and then you give the car back, rent a car, whoever, like charge 3 times the price for the petrol that you put in. And E.ON was wasting £900 a year on the rental fees of not filling your petrol tank up. So it's just little things like that that was a way of saving money. Anyway, that was E.ON. I then went to Cogent Elliott, which is an agency that does marketing stuff for all kinds of clients across a wide variety of industries and different things. It was an amazing experience, because that's when I worked on Jaguar, that's when I worked on Triumph motorcycles, that's when I worked on Marketing Birmingham, and that's what this is here. I got to do a radio advert with Julie Walters, the woman from Billy Elliot. That's not going to be a reference, is it? What's she done recently? I'm not quite sure. You know Julie Walters, right? That Brummer, yeah. That's Mamma Mia. Dances on the table. Yeah, she is. She's in Mamma Mia. There we go.
The one that isn't Meryl Streep or Kristen Bell.
One of the friends. Thanks, Daniel. And this was one of the other ways. For Marketing Birmingham, we wanted to show the wide cultural assets that they'd got as an organisation for Birmingham. So we got all the different cultural organisations within Birmingham to turn up on a day and have their photo took on the stairs of Victoria. Is it Victoria? I can't remember. The floozy and the jacuzzi is about here, to give you some reference of where this was taken. So there was Birmingham Royal Ballet, there was some street dancers, there was CBSO, there was all kinds of weird and wonderful dances going on, and we took photos of them separately over the course of a week because people were really busy, and then put them all on a picture together with a really eerily lit picture. And this was about see more and feel more in Birmingham, And it's just absolutely gorgeous. I think it's one of my proudest piece of work from Marketing Birmingham. We also did this video. There's a similar one that STA Travel had done 10 years before, so we kind of ripped it off a little bit. I'm not saying you should do that, but they were walking left to right and this was back to front, so it's a completely different thing, right? But this was another way of showing all the great things that Birmingham got on offer. Because at the time, Birmingham didn't have the great reputation that it did. This was back in 2012. It was kind of getting there, but it just needed a bit of a zhuzh along. And Marketing Birmingham really helped them to do that. And I was part of that as well, which was really cool. I then went on, I got bored of working in agency and I wanted to, in a big agency, and I wanted to go somewhere else. And so I decided to apply for a different agency with a more senior role. And the task to get that job, to apply was, once you got to interview, it was do a presentation, 10-minute presentation on literally anything, which sounds like it's really easy, but it's not, because what do you do a presentation on? Do you talk about the ethics of marketing and sound like you really know what you're talking about? Or like, what do you do? And I kind of thought everyone else is going to go in and talk shop, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to be able to stand out from the crowd. So I did a presentation on 7 reasons why chocolate is the best thing in the world. You can tell from my chins, I quite like chocolate. But I made sure that it wasn't just about, there was a slide on the health benefits, there was a slide on like if you put it on your face, in a mud pack and you put it on your face and it makes you feel better. And it was quite scientifically produced. It was 5 years ago now and I can't really remember. But as a way of kind of leaving a lasting memory with them after I'd done my presentation, I bought a USB stick that was in the shape of a Galaxy chocolate bar, and I left my presentation with them on this USB stick and was like really proud of myself. I was like, there you go, you're not going to forget me now. And I also left this with them as well, which was a Galaxy chocolate bar that I'd designed a wrapper with my name on. And then the ingredients of the chocolate bar were kind of what my skills were that I thought they would be interested in. And it worked, and I got the job. So obviously, like there was a little bit down here, I promise, about allergies and stuff like that. But people didn't care as much 5 years ago. They do now. I don't want to make anyone choke. But yeah, that's just an example of. I'm going to come to it in a bit, but just kind of do things that make yourself stand out from the crowd and make yourself a little bit different, because that's how you get to where you get to. So then I was at Creative Bridge, and that was more of a digital agency. They were doing things like games for exhibition stands and just fun things. And as the world was kind of going digital, I thought that's where I need to be. So a couple of the things that I did when I was at Creative Bridge, this was on an exhibition stand for a kitchen company. And we were trying to find a way to make this kitchen company stand out from 25 million other kitchen companies in this big, massive, boring exhibition hall. And one of their key products was drawers, kitchen drawers. And they were trying to sell the fact that if you have drawers in your kitchen rather than shelves, you get a lot more stuff in there, you can find things easier, and it's much better to have in your kitchen. So we came up with this weird idea for a game that was actually the most fun ever. In these drawers, there were some drawers here, and there were some shelves here, as it says on the picture. And you could win an Apple Watch if you got the quickest time, and then there was a second and a third prize, and I can't remember what they were. But essentially, pitted 2 people against each other, and you were given a shopping list, and you both had the same 10 shopping lists came up on the screen, and it was out of 50 that was in the drawers and in the shelves, and it was randomised, so it was different every time. And as you found each individual thing, you pressed this buzzer here, and the next one came up, and when you got all your 10, you then got your time, and then whoever got the best time won the prize. And to say it was for a kitchen company, which is quite dull, it was really fun, and we had the best time finding all the stuff to put in the drawers, coming up with a concept, selling it in, being enthusiastic about it, because there's no point, in the back of your mind, this is a kitchen company, I would much rather be doing something really fun. But actually, this made it fun, and just because the subject that you're talking about is boring, doesn't mean that you have to be boring. So that was really fun. And then we did loads of games for exhibition stands, because I don't know, in your careers, you will at some point have to go to a really boring trade show or exhibition. I think it's everyone's rite of passage into the world. But cure for insomnia sometimes, isn't it? But one way that we were trying to sell for people to stand out from all the other exhibitors was to have something interactive on your stand, so that people could come over, go, oh, what's that? What are they doing? And then from there, you've dragged them in. So this was a game that we did for Aberdeen Asset Management, again, thrilling company, where you went up and you could win a prize just by doing some racing. And the video's unlisted on YouTube now, so I had to film my computer this morning and put it on. So, oh, you can't hear the sound, so it's all right. Someone was typing really loud in my office this morning, so I thought you might be able to hear that, but you can't. But anyway, you just raced around and you picked up coins for your asset management portfolio, and at the end you got a score, and then whoever got the best score on that day on the exhibition stand won a prize. And it was something just a bit different. Then after Creative Bridge, I worked for SSP, which is the insurance broker software provider. And I was looking after a product called SSP Advisor, which is it's a piece of software for financial advisors. So this is where you keep, it's basically like a fancy Excel spreadsheet. So you put in there who your clients are, what's in their portfolio, what they're investing in, and all that kind of stuff. And we were trying to sell this for the actual financial advisors to use as their system, trying to stand out from all the other competitors. And so the campaign that I came up with, and this is probably one of my most proudest things, so if you hate it, don't tell me, just like smile and think it's really brilliant, because I'll be sad otherwise, was we tried to sell it as, like, the campaign concept was uncovering your client's profitability. So and I did it like uncover, like a detective campaign thing. So the first thing that they got was a postcard, and it looks a bit like a telegram, and it says, operative, you've been selected for a new mission, stop, we'll be in touch soon, stop, blah, blah, blah. And they just got that through the post completely out the blue, saying, we'll be in touch soon, regards, mission control. Then about a week later, they got a big red envelope that was quite fat and interesting, and you don't normally get red post, do you? So we thought, well, that'll stick out a little bit. And in that envelope, there was a case file and there was a power bank, because people love a freebie. Like, whatever you're doing, give someone a freebie and they'll be your best mate. And also these power banks had just started kind of coming into people being interested in them. So everyone got a power bank and a case file. And in the case file was a letter all about what the mission was, which was essentially, our product's really great for helping you uncover your client's profitability. And there was all the key points of why it was really good and why we were better than our competitors. And then the end of that letter was, to continue your mission, go to this website and enter your secret code to unlock your assignment files and find out more about SSP Advisor. The secret code was, it sounds really convoluted, but I had the best time doing this. You also got this in your red envelope, which was this weird codey thing, which you can just see here, and this little slider thing. And basically, when you put that inside there, the name of every customer that we'd sent it out to was there, so it was a little bit personalised. And then you slided it in like that. And it said, hi, your unique PIN code is this. Please go to the website and put your unique PIN code in, and then it will take you on to the next stage. And then on the website, there was like a Mission Impossible video that exploded after 10 seconds. And then it asked you questions, and it was essentially finding out what you were looking for from your clients, and then you press submit to go on to the next stage of your mission. And all of a sudden, us at SSP knew exactly who the main person was to contact in that company and what their clients' main needs were. And then it was a lead into the sales team to go, hi, I've seen that you're interested in portfolio recommendations. And that was a really good way of engaging with our customers. And it was, when I tried to sell it into to the board, bearing in mind this was a group of crusty old white men who were used to sending out white papers and they read broadsheet newspapers. They expected white papers. They didn't expect big red envelopes with chunky things in that were going to make them a bit interested. But I kind of convinced them to trust me because I know what I'm on about, and it worked, and it was really successful. And the return on investment was something like 500%. I think it was 5 times over what we'd paid for it. So it was a really successful campaign. And then, I've not animated these properly. And then I started working on City of Culture. And I did loads of things, and obviously we'll still continue to do this. City of Culture, the marketing team, is just me. Now that we've won, I get a bit more people, and I get someone starting on the 16th of April, and then we're going to continue to advertise roles, and the marketing team's going to grow to about 8 people. But for the whole of the bidding process, it's just been me, which is fun because I feel like I single-handedly won the bid. I didn't. The trust is made of 8 people. But in terms of marketing and getting our stuff out there, getting us in the news, like Adam was talking about, PR, press, city dressing is what this slide's going to mainly be about. That was me working with partners to just get our message out there. So we were on fire engines, we were on Broadgate House. There was actually officers, or there still is, officers in here, and they hated us for a little bit because of that. But it looked really great, and that's all that I cared about. No, I did check with them first, I promise. We put it on the BHS building. We put it on Britannia Hotel, which I feel like a bit in love with now, because it is this big concrete monstrosity in the middle of the city, and the inside's not much better. I've said it to the manager, so it's all right. I'm not being two-faced. But actually, one of the things that I really love about Cov is how concrete it is, and then behind it you've got the Millennium Arches, which I think are really beautiful, and like Frank Whittle's there, and then just over there a little bit you've got some medieval architecture, and I love how wonky and topsy-turvy it is, and I think that's one of the things that I really love about it. But Britannia were great and said, yeah, you can put a banner on there, so that was good. We did have to go down on a weekly basis to flip it back over because the wind kept picking it up, and no matter what we put on the bottom of the banner, it still flipped over. But you know, gets you out, doesn't it? These are some hoardings by the station, so that the first thing that you see when you get into Cov Station is a big thing that now says back the bid and we've won, and people keep moaning to me when I'm going to change it, and I am getting round to it. But it was a really great, strong presence to have as people were walking in of get into the city. Because one thing that Cov's not very good at is marketing itself, selling itself, or letting people know where to go or what's there. Cov's got loads of stuff that's really great, but no one really knows about it. So this was one way of doing it. And then the way that we're going to redo the hoardings when they get done in the next couple of months or so is that it's going to be a bit more of a destination pointer. So walk this way and you'll find the Transport Museum. Go this way to Fargo Village. Did you know that Coventry's got people speak over 140 languages in the city and all that kind of stuff? So it's a bit of you can stop and find out more there. We did a big flag with wasps that just before every match when they bring out a big shirt and stuff, and we had a big flag to announce that we were shortlisted. And then we got different community groups and schools and people like that, so that a different group or different sets of groups went to the match. Every time there was a home match, they got free tickets, they got to go out on the pitch where it was all really exciting, and we got our brand in front of thousands of people on a regular basis, so that was cool. And we did this, which was, we just submitted our initial bid. We were one of 11 cities that were bidding at this point, and not really knowing what was going to happen at a date in April, I just said, advertised it across as many platforms as I could. Can you come along to the cathedral, and we're having a big get-together to celebrate that we've submitted our initial bid. The weather had been glorious for like weeks, and then that day it hailed, which was great. But there was 350 people there, and they all came to shout and cheer about the bid being submitted, and it was really great, and it kind of made me feel like this is the start of something. These people care. They're stood with hailstones bouncing off their head, and they're still waving a flag that says I'm back in the bid. It's pretty cool. And ITV Central came along to film, and people came in fancy dress, and they brought the penny farthing from the Transport Museum that I was absolutely terrified about, because I thought this is hundreds of years old, and it's getting rained on, but it was all right. And then after we got shortlisted, we then had to submit a final bid. We were one of 5 cities, and we did a bit of not a PR stunt, because what Cov's tried to do the whole way along, and what I've made sure that we do so that we're kind of true to our city, is that Stoke did a big show where they had people performing, and they had random people not associated with Stoke doing a big sing and dance in the city centre. Paisley did some kind of weird thing around the city where they made a paisley pattern, which was quite cool. But we wanted to do something that was just a bit more carved and felt a bit more authentic to us. So we got some members from Positive Youth Foundation who we've worked really close with along the bid. And we took the bid, we hand-delivered it down to the DCMS in a artist-designed taxi. So this artwork around the taxi, this was in the Transport Museum anyway, so we managed to get the Transport Museum to let us borrow it and take it down to London. And you know how London cabbies have to learn the London, am I still right in the middle of that one? London cabbies have to learn the London knowledge in order to be able to then be a cabbie and drive around London. But the London these black cat taxis are actually made in Coventry. So one of the artists that was in the exhibition at the time at the Transport Museum did a piece of artwork that was called the Coventry Knowledge with that kind of thought in mind. And this was made into a massive artwork that's on, I think it's still on the wall in Transport Museum now. It was all the different places in Cov where if you were a taxi driver in Cov in theory you should know. Wrapped it round a taxi, one of the brand new electric taxis, and then let us borrow it and take it down to London. So the building behind is the DCMS building. We had to jump through all kinds of hoops to go in a little back wall behind this building, because this is in the middle of Westminster where you can't burp without someone causing attention to someone. But they let us use this back road and have some photos and mess about in the taxi. I got to drive it and it was really good fun. And then we delivered the bid. And it was really nice because it felt like it was really Cov, because we used the taxi and we used the young people who's obviously the future of the city, and we did something different to what everyone else had done, and it was really good because there was 3 Midland cities, 2 Midland cities that were in the shortlist, and then obviously there was other cities. So the 5 cities were Cov, Stoke, Sunderland, Paisley and Swansea. And quite a lot of the national press were talking about what we'd done as opposed to the big song and dance in Stoke or the people in Paisley. So we were really proud of that, because that was just an idea of how do we try and do something different that still feels like it's us and not us trying to do something that's going to be in the paper. This is just a smidgen of the things that we've done in the bidding process in order to get to where we got to on that night, which was winning. And I've also brought along the bid film to show you. You might have already seen this because I tried to get this plastered in as many places as possible, and I think it's been viewed 175,000 times now, but I still love it, and again it's one of my proudest pieces of work, so I'm just going to play the bid film now. Which, before I press play, what we wanted to do with our bid film, there's not a requirement to do a bid film, but we kind of wanted to do something that was, video is the best kind of content, high impact, and sharing stories about Cov that wasn't just, look, this is this building and this is this building. It was about what's most important. If we win City of Culture, how we were going to impact the city most, and it was about the people. So this is just about some of the people in Cov.
Our Cov, under sky blue skies, starts to wake. Who are we? Peaceful people with fierce pride. We shape, we make, we give more than we take. From the shadows, we find light.
Coventry was a place that I didn't know much about, but it didn't take me long before I knew a lot about Coventry, about its people, about its diversity, and what this great city has to offer.
Coming from Shanghai to Coventry, it has been a really different experience for me. It kind of sets the tone of who I am now.
I think my love of art and design really did have its roots in Coventry. It was just a very dramatic, very featured environment.
You couldn't help but despair the fact that such a beautiful city as Coventry was being levelled to the ground.
Reinvention, determination, multiculturalism. That's a great thing about the city. We've always been multicultural before we even knew what the phrase was.
I came in Coventry in September 2010. I can never forget that day. I express myself through movement, so basically that says everything.
I have learned so much in my past 3 years that no matter what work I'm making, I'll always go back to everything that my tutors have taught me.
We give people the platform to have their voices heard. This place has got a hold of me. I don't know, it just needs something to just go, and then it'll be like, oh, there's Coventry.
Coventry has given me the opportunity to launch a unique business that I'm incredibly passionate about. I would say that Coventry has taught me to be a lot more open-minded. I'm a lot more passionate about what I do and a lot more passionate about life.
I didn't know I was this determined. I didn't know that I could sit there 6 rounds in a boxing match. I never knew that about myself, but you won't learn something about yourself unless you take yourself out of your comfort zone.
I'm extremely grateful to Coventry for what it's given me over the years.
It's always been so welcoming that it's only just going to keep growing, and it's like the seed that's been planted there and we're just waiting for it to nurture and grow up.
There's a steeliness, if you like, about Coventry people, which is quite enduring.
We look for new things, we create new things, and there's always optimism.
I think I can call Coventry my second home.
A lot of people aspire to be in other various cities, but this is where I want to be.
Coventry has warmed my heart. It's got into my heart and I don't think I can let it go.
What has Coventry given me? Coventry's given me a life.
I left my home in search of peace. I arrived in a city of peace and reconciliation. Nothing would be a greater gift to a refugee than that.
So Ghost Town's gone, moved on. Coventry's grown. On Cov watches, the hand approaches noon. As we stand at the door, excited, industry and honesty, our engines of true art. We're not rich, we're real, and we will move your hearts. Our voices of diversity, all our stories, all our journeys, now cometh Cov's hour. From the soil of our compassion, all our budding talents will burst into flower. Now it's sky blue skies, and see, from the chrysalis of Coventry, the butterfly breaks free. We're ready to take wing. Let's all sing together. Flick the switch. Hit the stage. Change Coventry forever.
I get emotional every time. I think I've seen that probably 100 times now, and every single time. Oh, do you want to watch it again? No, I'm kidding. Don't have to. I think every single time it makes me well up. We were really proud of it, and we felt like it was a nice representation because we talked. Our themes in our bid were about youth and diversity, but not just because we wanted to tick a box. And it's not about diversity, about ethnicity and background. It's like diversity in all its forms, gender, sexuality, age group, all that kind of stuff, and just about the things that make us unique. And Coventry is such a big mix of all those things that's why we're special, and we're right bang in the middle of the UK. We can make a biggest difference to the UK by putting us on that platform, and that's kind of the things that we wanted to get across. And look at all these really cool people that are here. And also get emotional because that really nice old man died this Christmas, and I felt so sad because I went and took him the video to show him, and he was so proud. He was like in his 90s, bless him. But yeah, sorry about that. And I'm pregnant as well. Like, you're allowed to cry when you're pregnant, right? I thought that lets me off. So this is when we found out that we won. We gathered some people from our community organisation, some people that have been involved in the bid throughout, some of our sponsors, just a real mix of people, and we invited them to the Belgrade. We were told that we had to keep it low key just in case we lost. And I was really sad because if you know, hindsight's wonderful, isn't it? But thinking back to how good this would have been if we'd have put a massive screen up somewhere and just got loads of people into a big space and had this amazing party. But there were some people who thought we weren't going to win. I always knew we were going to win. So we had to do it quite low key. So there was about 150 people in the Belgrade. We gave them flags. we screened the one show on one of the walls, which we had a real technical issue, and the one show, they had a 2-minute delay, so we couldn't actually watch it live, and someone had it on their phone on the balcony and had to watch and find out if it was us or not, and then did a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Then forgot that that's what his job was and did a thumbs up to someone who was in the audience roughly here, the balcony's up here, and everyone thought that we'd won, but it was still 10 minutes before the announcement, so he was a bit hysterical that evening. But eventually, John Glenn, the culture minister at the time, pulled the thing out of his envelope and it said Coventry, and I've got the gold envelope with the Coventry thing in my drawer at work, and it's like my prized possession. I should have brought it with me actually, I don't know why I didn't. Anyway, we found out that we'd won, and it was incredible. And overnight, things changed forever. So all of a sudden, me pootling along, just doing marketing by myself, it just went mental in the best possible way. This was the team that went to Hull. So there was 6, for the last stage of the bidding, there were 6 people that had to present. So there was Justine, who looked after our community engagement. This guy's called Louis. He is a choreographer and dancer from Coventry. And we got him involved in our executive group because we didn't want to talk about young people and then have a group of people that were running the trust that all looked like our beloved David Burbage, because that doesn't say anything about what we're trying to do. So we got Louis involved, who we were connected to through the Positive Youth Foundation, because he was a performer and he was born and bred in Coventry. And he came along to meet us in the office one day and he said, I thank you so much for even talking to me. Things like this don't happen to people like me, which when we cried, I wasn't even pregnant then, so I just obviously cry quite a lot. And he's just been brilliant. And there was another young person in our team as well called Tabor. She's a student at Cov Uni, second year fine art student. And we had those two on the executive board, so that they've got this group of people that are senior cultural leaders in the city. So the executive director of the Belgrade, the director of Warwick Arts Centre, all these people that have got really important roles, making decisions about what we were doing in the bid, but then young people as well to kind of bring it back down to earth and making sure that it stayed thinking about Cov. So something that in one of the bids, we'd use the word deprived quite a lot because we were talking about how we can make a difference to deprived neighbourhoods. And Tabor just went, I don't like that word. I'm not deprived. I don't see myself as deprived. I live in one of those neighbourhoods that you're talking about, and I'm not deprived. It's just different to compared with the other wards. And so we changed the word. I can't remember what we changed it to, but just that fresh perspective was brilliant. And we've kept them on their trustees now, so they run the trust, and they will continue when the trust has 50 people in it rather than just the 7 that it is at the moment. This is Emma. She's a Cov kid. She's also manager of Fargo Village. Like as if it wasn't enough to run the programme for City of Culture, she also manages Fargo Village. Something wrong with her, I think. This is Laura. She was manager of the trust, so she was kind of the main focus point for looking after what we were doing. She's now director of operations and legacy, and when we get some new people in soon, she'll kind of help that transition for these 2 really important people coming in and making the trust grow organically. And then this is David. He's our chairman. He's been involved in the RSC, the Belgrade, the Cathedral. He's been involved in Cov, in fundraising and in cultural leadership for years, and he really knows his stuff. So there was those 5, and there was also Martin Reeves, who is the chief exec of the council, and they were the 6 that went in front of the judges to say why it has to be Coventry, and obviously gave a really compelling argument because we won. And that was the culture minister, who's not the culture minister anymore, but he was then. Just some facts and figures. I said there wouldn't be too many words on my slides. So when we first were talking about bidding, we did a questionnaire in Coventry Telegraph, and 80% of people thought it was a good idea. We also got some hilarious comments about Cov can't win, I've seen more culture in a pot of yoghurt, it's a shithole. Am I allowed to say that? Sorry, Daniel. Stuff like that. But 80% of people were supportive, and we went, okay, we've just got to try and convince them now and just get them to bring them along on the journey with us. We were on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. I tried Snapchat as well, with some filters after we won, and I think we're going to carry on doing that probably when a young digital person comes in, because I just like taking pictures of me and my daughter with different filters on, and I need to do more Snapchatting really. Yeah, there will be, yeah. We had one of your students on a 2-week placement at the beginning of the year, and as we grow bigger and we've got more capacity, there will be opportunities for placement students and people to be involved. So, and also, aside from that, when we get a volunteer programme in place, we need digital volunteers, so we need kind of our foot soldiers on the streets taking pictures and doing Instagram stories and helping us kind of spread that word and that message. So there will be opportunities. But at the point of winning, we had 26,000 followers across these 3 platforms, which we were really proud of, because there was one city that was just better than us at everything all the way through, which was Paisley. I think they had more money. They were the only city in Scotland. Well, they're not even a city, they're a town. But they were the only one in Scotland, so they kind of had the run of Scottish media. They had loads of money from Creative Scotland going in. They had a marketing team of 6 people, and there was just me with my 2 phones trying to do Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at the same time. And they, every time we kind of got really close to catching them up, they just then smashed it and were better than us, and it made me really sad. But I'm still really proud that we managed to do this, and we kind of kept true to ourselves, and we didn't post every day on social media just for the sake of it. We posted when we had something to say, and we just kept that momentum, and we're now on over 40 across the 3 platforms, so I'm really proud of that. We had an advanced events programme, so we did a year of little events where we were saying, if we win City of Culture, this is roughly the kind of stuff that will happen in the city. So we brought a massive moon into this Cov Baths, which you might have seen. We had the Camper Van of Love at Cov Pride, which was a company called New Art Club, who did a story about love in all its forms, and it was a family-friendly show celebrating love, which was really perfect for Pride. And they were in a giant pink camper van, and it was weird and wonderful and brilliant, and just other things in the advanced events programme. And we got, over the course of the year, 109,000 people attend it, which was really great. This is Coventry was our hashtag, and it reached over 950,000 people. This was before we won. After we won, that went to 1,950,000 people, because immediately the spotlight was on us more. And just prior to winning, we had a media value of 12 million. Do people know what media value is? No, I didn't think so, but I didn't want to tell you if you did. So media value it's just a way of working out how much PR is worth. So if you were to go out and buy a big load of space to do some advertising, the amount of coverage that it would get would cost you 12 million. So if you got a page advert in The Guardian compared with a page advert in Cov Telegraph, the Guardian one's going to cost more because it's got a bigger reach and there's more people read it and all that kind of stuff. So that's roughly a description of what media value is. And up to through bidding, we had 12 million. And then in the week after we won, our media value was on 21 million. So we got £10 million in media value in a week, which was incredible, because all of a sudden everyone's talking about little old Cov, which was great. And there was 350,000 pieces of news in a week about us across all kinds of things, from like The Guardian to the Church Times to all these journalists that we tried to contact and go, you're from Cov, come and write something about us and put it in a really good paper so that more people know. And no one was interested because it was competition and they had to keep being fair. And then all of a sudden, all these journalists came out of the woodwork and were like, oh, I want to write about Cov, which was great. And then I just wanted to kind of finish on, I could talk about City of Culture all day, and if you've got any questions, then fire them at me. But I just wanted to finish, because of what Daniel asked me to talk about, on some top tips as to where I've got to where I have, and I've kind of give stuff as I've gone along. But hopefully this will be helpful if any of you are interested in doing marketing. And I hope I haven't put you off, because I love my job a lot. Again, I'm going to come up with niche references that you might not even know I'm on about, but just smile and nod and I'll be really happy. So my first tip is about always being tooled up. And by that, I mean, marketing's a skill and it's an art and it's a science. So don't just think that I'm going to get some qualifications in marketing and then I'm going to crack on and do my job, because there's always things that you need to be reading. There's always courses that you can go on, and it's a continual thing of learning and making sure you're top of your game, because there's always going to be some people that are learning new stuff and have learnt it faster than you and probably know more than you. So just about making sure that you stay at the top of your game and you've got all the tools that you need to be the best marketeer that you can be. Be brave. So this is William Wallace, by the way, just in case you know, also known as Mel Gibson. So I don't take no for an answer. I gave you my example earlier about how I wasn't getting a job that I wanted, so I found another way of doing it. I've got loads more examples of kind of where I've stuck my heels in and not giving up on anything. Oh, I've just given a clue. Sorry. You'll know what I'm on about in a minute. So yeah, just be brave. Just kind of stick to your guns and know that if this is what you want, then go out and get it. So for example, there was a thing on called Festival of Marketing, and it was £800 a ticket, but there was 2 days of really cool speakers talking about some really good stuff. So you know, like Proper Corn that you buy in the shop. The lady who set up Proper Corn as this little thing in her back garden and now is like a multi-millionaire, she was talking, and there was people from Facebook and Snapchat, and all these really cool brands were coming and doing this talk. Steve Wozniacki, who was the other guy that wasn't Steve Jobs for Apple, he was one of the key speakers there. And I really wanted to go, but it was £800, and my boss was like, nah. But I knew some people that worked at the company that were running Festival of Marketing, and we were a client in a roundabout way. So I just kind of sent an email and just said, my mum always told me that if you don't ask, you don't get. Just wondered if there was any free tickets going. And she replied with a 2-day pass to this festival where the tickets normally cost £800. And I went, and it was brilliant, and I learnt loads. Katie Price was one of the speakers as well, and she was really good. Whatever you think about her, she's a good businesswoman. And it was really good. So just, if you want something, try and get it, is the point that I'm making with Be Brave. Don't give up. Now you'll see why I tripped myself up, because I've said it already. This is Rick Astley. But yeah, don't give up. So my examples previously about, kind of stick your heels in. I get described as tenacious quite a lot, and I think sometimes that is a negative quality, but I take it as a quality, a good quality. I'm from Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshire Terrier. I will not let something drop, because if you believe in it, then carry on. Obviously, there's a time, and pick your battles and all that kind of stuff, but don't give up. Is my point with old Rick there. This is Inspector Gadget, and my point with this one is always be curious. So just whether that's finding out who your competitors are, making sure that you know about the political environment, or the Le PESC stuff, or PESL, or whatever the combination of letters is these days that I never know. The reason that you get taught that stuff is because it's really important for knowing your competitive environment that you're working in. So just always be curious and make sure, leading back to the bit about being told up, that you are top of your game and that you know what's going on, and that if something doesn't seem right, then look into it and find out more about it. Just keep kind of pushing. And then, this is Napoleon Dynamite. People know who he is, right? Good. I'm not going to do the dance, don't worry. And this one is, be a bit of a nerd. Like, marketing's really cool and creative and fun, but actually what backs it up, and it goes back to my example about Eon and all the money that we saved and everything like that, stats is what's going to be the proving point for why you've done something. So it's all well and good going, oh, I made a really nice picture and it was really great, but actually if you can go, I might have spent this much on a campaign, but actually it got this much reward, and it engaged with these many people, and all these facts and figures, that is cold, hard evidence for the reason that you've done something. So just always make sure that you've got numbers to back up everything that you're doing, and just be a real nerd about the stats, because there's some real beauty in those numbers. Make Excel your best friend. It'll pay off, I promise. And that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. If you've got any questions, crack on. Thanks. I mean, I didn't film it, but I obviously did most of the good bit. Hi.
How long did you campaign for, up until the end of the deadline when you won?
So it started in 2015 in terms of someone in the council thought it'd be really good for Coventry to bid for it, and then that's what led to the question in Covtel about should we do this or not. And then after then they said, right, okay, this sounds like a really good thing, but let's not run it from the council, because councils are big and slow, and they can't, with something like this, we thought it's better, well, they thought it's better to be dynamic and agile and be able to make decisions quicker, and in order to get funding to be able to do the things that we need to do, let's set up ourselves up as an independent trust. and then we can move a bit quicker with stuff. So that was set up in March 2016, I think. And then so it was pretty much 2 years of bid activity. The competition wasn't officially launched until the 1st of February, but that was a benefit to us because it meant we'd spent nearly a whole year going into communities, talking to people, kind of making sure that we knew what we were talking about before then officially the competition started, and we'd already got so much groundwork in place. The trust was there. There was 4 members of the team at that time. We knew what COV was about, we knew what stories we wanted to tell, and we'd got connections in the community to then engage with them, so that it wasn't just some people in an office on Far Gosford Street going, this is what's going to happen. It was like, what do you want to happen to your city? And it was two-way conversation.
I'm kind of related to that, I guess. Who is the audience for this entire marketing campaign? For me, there's several audiences, obviously. So for a marketer, then that poses either several problems or several opportunities, depending on how you see it. So with this kind of stuff, how did you see your audience, and did you try and target that differently depending on the format, the medium, whatever it was that you were trying to get across?
Yeah, we knew that we had 3 key target audiences that we wanted to engage with. One which was the judges and the DCMS, obviously, because they had the final decision on who was going to win. So a lot of the stuff that we did was was always with their benefit in the back of our mind. But again, we didn't want to be dictatorial and go, look, Coventry, look at what we're doing for you, isn't it marvellous? Like, it wouldn't feel very authentic. So we did it as a broad thing of the whole of Cov, but also if we look at it from, let's look at the communities that, because it's all well and good saying that our target are the people that already attend cultural events, but they're already well sold into this and we don't need to take them on any kind of journey. So are there community groups in Hillfields that feel like they're not part of Coventry? Let's go out and talk to them. So we identified distinct community groups where we felt like we could engage with them and learn more from them as well. And then also people that were, as a separate audience, cultural attendees, because and artists themselves as well, because it's not just about stuff for you to go along. Like, it's not about let's go to an event or let's go and see this thing at this place. We wanted to build capacity in the city so that those artists that have decided to make a career of producing art or doing some writing or producing theatre, these makers, doers, creators, that they had a sustainable future in the city and that they weren't going to take these amazing skills that they'd made in Coventry and go and take them and use them in Birmingham or go down to London because they felt like there wasn't an environment in Cov. So I've just kind of gone round the houses for my answer, but there was 3 distinct audiences that we tried to target, which was DCMS and the judges, Coventry communities, and creators and producers. We kind of did a Venn diagram of there's going to be occasions where these things cross, and the film, for example, was a catch-all. Let's try and target as many people as possible because that's how we broadly get our messages out. There was things that we produced. So I meant to hold these up while I was talking and I'd use my hands too much and get distracted. We produced this magazine and this went in Covtel, and this had got all about what our bid was, the cultural organisations in the city, big to small, all the different kind of things that made up what we were about. This went in the Covtel and it went out, and this was more about Cov communities and ways of trying to get into people that we wouldn't normally talk to. Obviously, the Coventry Telegraph has only got a readership of 17,000 people, and there's 376,000 people in Coventry. See what I mean? Numbers. But this was one way of doing it, and then we went out and we did workshops. So this was directly for the Cov communities. We went out and we did a bread making workshop in Hillfields, which is hands down the best thing that I have done in this whole time, because I went and I was learning how to make. This lady could only speak Gujarati, didn't speak any English, but she taught me how to make the best flatbreads in the world, and she was kind of taking the piss out of the taking the mick out of the director of Warwick Arts Centre, who's this lovey with a pink scarf that he flushes over his shoulder when he walks into any room. because his bread was rubbish, and if you'd have dropped it on the floor, it had like broke 3 floor tiles. And it was just this wonderful mix of people where, you know, food brings everyone together. Every single culture eats, and there was this wonderful group of people sharing stories from their different cultures, and this is what we did, and this is what my gran used to do. I know if you put some butter on it and then roll it up, it puffs it up more. And it was just the most magical afternoon, and it was 20 people in a room, so it wasn't mass audience, it wasn't mass participation, but it was 20 people that we would never have engaged with otherwise, that were sharing their stories about what culture means to them, and some of that went directly into the bid. And it was just a really magical thing for us to do. So we tried to do a mixture of things where it was either really targeted or it was really broad strokes, so that we tried to catch as many people as we could with our activity.
Do you have like a strategy document that kind of went through how you were going to look to each of these different audiences?
Yeah.
Like a big plan kind of documentation that went into that?
Yeah, so again, with the nerd thing, I had the mother of all Gantt charts on Excel, where we looked at different channels, different audiences, how do we make sure that we match this up and make sure that we're covering as many people as possible. It was a really good way of identifying gaps. We did a Venn diagram, and we said, these people we can get with program, these people we can get with the workshops. What about these ones here? We're not doing anything for them, they're just going to say that we left them out. And just kind of finding ways and opportunities of going, this is how we try and target as many people as possible. And we're not going to talk to everyone. We get it quite a lot now where people that should be really excited about the bid are saying, well, you never spoke to me, I've got a really good idea and I didn't tell you my idea. I'm sorry, Doreen, but that your time will come. And you're never going to get anyone, and you kind of have to accept that. And with every marketing campaign, you're not going to get all of your target market that you wanted, and you're not going to get everyone to convert to what you wanted them to do. But again, that's okay.
Is that something?
What my I could share a version, and I've got some individual comms planners of different projects that I did within each one that is less confidential, so I can send you that stuff. And I'll not just say I'm sending it, I will send it.
To go alongside what you've presented, I think it would be a real tangible thing that we could then relate to really how you structure your job, which must be everywhere, all over the time and all at once.
Yeah.
Really at the same time. How do you then place these items into the media to try and reach a wider remit of people for the City of Culture bid? Was that when you liaised with external organisations like Adam and the PR team, or were there people in-house who were also liaising with Telegraph, ITV Central, those kind of pivotal local bodies?
Because the team was so small, external partners were absolutely key, and Advent were really helpful in terms of helping me make the connections, but then also they've not been too afraid to kind of go, oh, well, you've spoken to them before, so you can speak to them now. So I know the editor of the Coventry Telegraph now, and I've got some contacts with people at ITV and Midlands Today, and so I know I can if some, because there's been quite a few things that have been last minute as well, so I've kind of like dropped Joan Cummins a text from Midlands Today and gone, oh, we're doing this thing and it's really fun, so if you're around, come along. And they generally did as well. So that's been good, because then it's building capacity in the team. Well, in me, I've got more contacts now than I had when I started. I've spoken to people at BBC News at 10 and BBC News at 6, which have been really great from a selfish perspective, because now I know all these people, so that if City of Culture bin me off and I have to go somewhere else, then I'm taking all this with me. But yeah, working with partners, and just making sure that you then have an extended team that is able to make those connections. Right, because Advent write our press releases, I then check them and then make sure they're all right, and they help me distribute them. But then it comes back to us so we had a public meeting on Monday where we invited as many people along that wanted to come to ask questions, find out more, have an opportunity to rant if they wanted to, because some people are really angry and I don't know why. But we've got 2 more public meetings, so we wanted to do as much press on the back of that one as we possibly could to then encourage people to come to the next 2 meetings. And free radio rang like just as I was walking up the road to go, we want to talk to someone and have them on the radio talking about what when the next public meetings are and what kind of things you can find out. And that's come through Advent setting that initial thing up, and I was on ITV News on Monday night and I'd not washed my hair because I didn't know I was going to be on, so that was annoying. But yeah, just working with external partners, but then also having that capacity in-house. And then as we go into our trust growing from 7 people to 47 people, we will have a PR person in-house to do more of that internally, so that then we have more control over the media relationships, but still we'll still work with Advent centrally, locally, and we'll probably get a London PR agency as well, where we can make that connections that might have more of a national impact, because we'll need to do that as well, so that we're covering all bases.
So it's only, despite winning the bid, it's only really just beginning in terms of the promotion of what it means to be City of Culture 2021.
Yeah, and from a marketing perspective, everything that we did as our key messages and everything for the bid sort of is kind of like, right, that's one project gone, you've got a new one now, because it's completely different, it's different audiences, it's much more broader. We're talking about different things. Before, my main things that I was kind of promoting was that we're bidding, that these organisations are involved, and that these events are going on, and kind of everything could be hung on one of those 3 hooks. Whereas now, I need to promote Coventry as a destination. I need to be more of a tourism marketing person, because people, if we don't make Cov an attractive place to visit and stay and study, then they're not going to come. So we can put all these amazing stuff on, but if there's one person and his dog stood in the audience, then we've failed. So yeah, there's more tourism going on. It's a whole new marketing campaign for us to try and get people to come to visit Cov, and for people within Cov to be proud of their city and to want to talk about it externally as well.
Does that involve then going back to local government and Coventry City Council and trying to then work much more in partnership on tourism and bringing people into the city itself?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're working on at the moment is we've done quite a lot of research. So we did some tourism research that went into our bid, so that we could then say, these are the facts and figures that we're hoping to impact on tourism. So we've calculated that we think that there will be £350 million economic impact on Coventry as a result of winning. 200 million of that is on tourism. People coming and staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, all that kind of thing. By the way, if anyone is interested in these numbers, we've got a bid document. You can pick it up from a couple of places in the city. This is a summarised version of the confidential bid that went into government. It's online on our website, or if you're walking past our office in Fargaston Street, you can come and pick one up. But yeah, so we've got, like, there's some pie charts and some facts and figures in here about all the impacts we wanted to make, and that was based on all the research that we did before it, because we didn't want to just say, we're going to do this. Like, again, going back to the stats thing, you kind of need numbers to back things up to make your argument more credible, and so it was all based on research. And then we've had a whole new bunch of research done since we won. So we are looking into a destination management plan so that we can properly promote ourselves as a city. Destination management plan, for anyone that doesn't know, is just kind of a list of things that you are committing to as a city that you're going to do. But we've got an external organisation to come in and look at our cultural organisations, the infrastructure of the city, and basically what we need to be more of a tourism-driven place. The results of that come out in April, and then that will then inform us and the council and other various organisations in the city as to how we are going to promote Coventry going forward. It might be that they say, well, you've only got 3 people in your tourism team and you need 10, or you need to share that work with.
Tourism office is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. But yeah, so we're working on that at the moment. We're doing a city web audit because we know that normally in any other city when tourism research has been done, 78% of people will find out about a city, find out how to navigate that city and all that kind of information that you need in order to go and be a tourist through websites. And in Coventry, only 11% of people do that. If tourists to Coventry, only 11% have found out their information through websites and online. And it's because the Visit Coventry website is dire. There's no what's on listing for you to be able to go to one website and find stuff out. And then the consequence of that is that organisations that are trying to promote the stuff that they're doing have to go onto 12 different websites and input the same event 12 times, which is tedious, so then they just don't do it because who's got time for that? So the web audit is being done to kind of bring all this stuff together, with the output being that there'll be one singular place where if you're an organisation you can go and put your information in once and it'll disperse it out magically to all these different places, and then the same way that there will be one website that will bring this all in. I know Cov Uni Students' Union have just launched Enjoy Coventry, which is we're really interested to see how that works, because they did that separate to us doing it, and that's not a bad thing. It's going to help us out because we'll be able to get some learnings from Enjoy Coventry and work together, so that there is this one place, and then we can just make our online offer a lot stronger.
Like at most cities, they'll have like visitbirmingham.co.uk and it will tell you all the food you can go to and the gigs that are on and all the comedy. There isn't a central hub for that. We have what's on at the Warwick Arts Centre, we have what's on here, and there's no...
Well, there's a Visit Coventry and Warwickshire website.
Really?
Yeah, don't go on it.
No.
Life's too short. It's terrible, and they will hold their hands up and say it's terrible, but we're going to fix that. So that's something that's in the process of doing at the moment. The main way that people come into Coventry find out about Coventry is because they are visiting friends and relatives, and they find out through the friends and relatives that they're visiting, or they're coming to conferences. But the problem that we have with that is most of the hotels in Coventry have got this beautiful big leaflet rack that's got leaflets for Stratford Butterfly Farm and the Black Country Museum and all these things that are outside of Coventry. So we're not trying to keep the people that are coming to visit here. And even coach tours will pull up outside the cathedral and they'll go, you've got an hour, go and see the tapestry, go and have a wee and then get back on because we're going to Stratford. And what's the point of that? Why aren't you staying here? Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of things that we're finding out about now, again, about being curious, that we know that these are the problems that we've got to fix. It's like this big bucket that's leaking loads of water and we're kind of plugging them all up with corks, and at some point it's going to stop leaking, it's going to be magical. But we've got a few years to do that. So
there was a university student actually who went to Newcastle and paid for his tuition by setting up This Is Newcastle. That was, and there's a BBC documentary that features it about 2009, 2010, which if there's any first years in here, they will have seen, because I showed it last term. But it was interesting that he basically paid his tuition fees and ran it as a business. So he went round, got all of the local businesses to filter to his website. He had registered the This Is Newcastle domain, and so effectively that became his. He was left university debt free.
amazing. Smart chap.
Portfolio, no doubt. In which case, thank you very much. If no one else has any questions, okay, can everyone?